Hey everyone, it's Jason. So I just recently did a unboxing for the TMNT Shadows of the Past, the Works, Kickstarter full box set. And I previously done stuff for the newer version, the Changes Constant / City Fall, comic, things. And I wanted to do kind of a comparison video. Just as I was opening up the Works, I was, because it was the precursor game. They made the Works, the Shadows of the Past game. And then they realized, well, rather than keep making more and more content for it, they decided to take that system of the game, rework it into the new style, and they made a lot of improvements on it, and like adding co-op versus an AI component, so people could play as everyone together versus someone always having to play the bad guy. But they definitely kept that in there, so you could play the bad guy. So I just kind of wanted to do a comparison video between like the two different games to kind of see like what they sort of changed, and maybe my thoughts and my personal opinion on why I think they changed them, or like if I think one thing is maybe better than the other. So we're gonna go through a bunch of different stuff here. So here's our rule book on this side for Shadows of the Past. That's the old one. And here's our rule book for the new one. As you can see, there's obviously a size difference. But while flipping through it, and it's definitely not a bad thing. Shows you all the stuff you need. How you lay out the game. How the cards are laid out. How the action dice work. Like, it definitely explains how the game is played. No arguments there. Line of sight. How the bad guys' cards work, all of that. And then like a quick reference on what the different dice symbol means. And then kind of the upgrade from this one, couple things is one, they have a little Pigeon Pete down here who gives up extra advice on things. But it's also a lot bigger manual, I feel like. So this is the one where you actually get the changes constant, where you get your characters aren't actually they're the main turtles. You get Donnie Rap. Here show you all your components. The other one did too, which is really nice. This is definitely an improvement right here, unless I missed it in the other books. They have a figure tray layout, so it shows where. So if you're keeping all your stuff in the game and you're not repurposing these into different boxes and stuff, this shows you how all the figures go into the box, which is a really nice feature, because I just tried putting all these miniatures back in here. It shows you all the miniatures, but there's nothing that shows you how they go into the box. Which, obviously, some of them you can figure out very quick, like the Mousers or that, but some of these figures start to kind of feel about the same size. So that was really nice. Here's a good little breakdown of what each individual card does, each symbol, every single card type, whether it's competitive, villain cards, cooperative cards, initiative cards. Layout for if you're doing the competitive mode or versus 2 players. How the dice work, all of that, actions. Like, it breaks down all the rules a lot better. Like, here it actually explains how melee strikes work, how range strikes work. Yeah, so they did a really good job of taking the pre-existing instructions, giving them more pages to actually expand out. Here's how co-op works, here's how your attacking works, here's how your different terrain. Here's a lot more things on line of sight. And even after all of this, there's still stuff that, like, sitting on there's a a Facebook page, it's dedicated to this game. Well, the the adventure system, as it's now called. There were still people asking questions. All the time, because you can't ever hit every single little thing. There's a lot of wording here, but the other one uses a lot more pictures, explains stuff a little bit better. So that's just kind of the difference between the instruction books. The current game actually updates it a lot more. Then we have our adventure comics. So you have this one, which is a little bit more comic booky size. It's not a little bit bigger, but it's also a lot thicker. Versus this one, which is a lot bigger, more like almost magazine size. Couple of differences in there. This sets up like, I was going through this. This sets up like story 1, and you have these 4 battles. Story 2, you have these 4 battles. Whereas the new game, we can find this table of contents in here somewhere. Sets it up similar. It has a tutorial mission, like changes constantly, has these little missions in there, and does that. But it also mentions on here, like, how many players it's, or what page number it's on, but how many players you can play for each one, and stuff like that. And then each one has kind of like an introductory thing. But what they both do is they explain in the rules here what it does, your strengths or weaknesses, your objectives, and your victory. And what's nice about the way both of these games are played is if you win, you possibly get something special. If you lose, you do something. This one though, it's like usually the heroes win, you gain like a bonus or something like that. But you always go to the next stage. So you're going to play through every single map on here. Proceed to this book, do that, do this. Whether you win or lose, you're always going to keep moving to the next spot. Which is what I thought was odd when I was going through this one. Because, let's get to the first one. And here's your winning, losing, and then they have trinkets. But they have stuff like this. If you win, you go to battle 2. But if you lose, you go to battle 3. So I thought that, personally, that's kind of interesting that, like, it sort of lets you jump to a different scenario. If you win, maybe you get a chance to actually, like, basically improve yourself a little bit more and get another advantage for the next battle. But if you lose, you have to go to the other one. You're gonna not have maybe the advantage of having won. But I also feel like just in this book, when there's only technically 8 battles, if you play one and then it has you skip one, and then you go right there in the same thing, like you skip another one, like you're not getting to play all 8 battles then, unless you decide to just play them individually. And because of that, some of them they kind of mirror each other. I don't know if there's as much in this one, but some of them, because it'd be like, depending on if you're doing battle 3 or 4, they might be the same, just alternate. It did have one thing I thought was kind of neat for that reason, though, is we have 4A and 4B. So at the end of the game, depending on whether you won your last match, you either played 4A where you fought against Hob in the subway, you had to go against Thugs and Hob, or you played map B where you went against Alopex and Foot Ninja. So I thought that was kind of cool, and I wouldn't have minded something like that in the new one. Where I do like the fact that you have to play all the different missions if you're gonna play like a campaign mode, because again, you can always jump in and just play any of these separate. But I like the idea of this one though being like, if you won this particular mission or lost it, it's depending on which then character you fought, where it's basically the same setup, just depending on which enemies you're gonna fight. So that's kind of a neat idea. Other thing to look at in here is how the maps are set up. So, like, we have a map here. This is the old one again. It's gonna show you like if you have any leaders, if you have any minions, what color cards they use. Like this one has goals. That's where your heroes start and where everything's laid out. And then if we flip to So this one does very much the same thing. It mentions your leaders, minions down here, what colored decks you're using. Also tells you how many figures you're gonna have, which was, and it does say that on there too. You get 5 and 5. And then it breaks down some other stuff. So this is kind of another little neat thing they did where they broke it down. It says you're gonna have to have 2 subway cards, 2 benches, 4 initiative cards, because of the way the game is played. 4 heroes, 2 thugs, how many you need for each player, and a difficulty boost. And this one, it doesn't do that. And it's also, the initiative thing was, I think, for, if you're playing co-op, or versus AI, because how that works is, you have a deck with a card for representing each character, and you draw a card that's you just to take the turn. Versus when you're playing against another player, I believe it's hero, villain. So here at least then, that's one thing I did like about the AI thing. It's just because then you don't even if you use it in the other mode too, it's because then it's random who gets to go first and who just goes. So maybe the villains get attacked 3 times in a row, and then the heroes just have to kind of hold your own and get in there. But then they all get a comeback on the attack. Or vice versa, the turtles all get to go first. And then the villains, if they're still alive, all get a gang up on them. And the turtles can't move and go to range. And that kind of makes that sort of neat. And this looks a lot like that last match we did. Or the last one I showed on there. With Alopex and Foot Ninja. It's kind of like a mixture between the two. But even if I flip to that one, or what's that one again? You can even see the difference here in the maps, in what's going on. So, on the one side, yep, there's your steps going down, there's your turnstiles, there's Alopex, there's some benches they have to go through, and there's your, a couple of your minions, in between the things. Which, so outside just from having more guys to fight, because it's a combination, it's pretty much very similar setup. But then if we look at the other side of the map, this one has 2 subway cards in there, which adds some height in there, as well as blocking terrain. So the turtles have to either go up and around, or they have to run around. They're going to have to actually go up and over one of the subway cards, because there's a blocking spot right there. But that makes the game a little bit more difficult, versus here, they just have to run straight through. Yeah, so that's kind of interesting. Just different thing there. Plus, this has spawn zones, this one doesn't, so there's also a little bit of difference there. Yeah, otherwise the games are pretty neat. This one shows different setup, going the opposite direction. Has big comic book page in there, but it also explains all your different objectives, rules, your special rules. And here we got a Baxter thing. I did mention that one says on the map though what you need to put in there, which items it has. This kind of also has it with your little train cards, but it doesn't specify exactly. So if I was going to play this map right here, I don't, just looking at this just straight up off the top of my head, I don't know what is on these maps and what's not. So I have to keep constantly looking back, trying to figure out what's what. These benches might be add-ons, piece tokens, or they might be part of the map. I don't remember. There's this little purple safe. Yeah, so they just kind of, again, with everything, they just sort of cleaned it up, made it a little bit better. This map right here in particular is kind of interesting. I don't know if that one's in this book or if that's in the other book. Let me see. And because they're based off the same stories, they have a lot of the same stuff in them, or very similar. So these two are kind of... Where'd that one go? I lost it already. One with the camera. So these two kind of mirror each other. So this is the old one, and you go through, you have to fight Alopex and Hob, because there's only a couple of villains. Then Thug Gunners. And that was the other advantage of the new ones, is they made more characters. But here you start here, and you have to get through this room with the cameras, which are going to be in the way. You can't get spotted by them. So you kind of got to go up and over the desk to take them out. And then once you break through the door, you can go fight the big bad guys. They recreated that type of mission in this one, except the map's the opposite direction. But the turtles are going, or the heroes are going this way. Except they move the spawn points from behind over the sides. And then we have two cameras. And then you break when you're fighting a bunch of mouses instead. Which is kind of neat. They took the same type of map and redid it. And they're going to spine that with lots of them. Alright, so that's kind of the difference in the books. Next thing I want to look at are them terrain cards. So when I first saw these, I was like, oh, these are actually pretty cool. So Shadows of the Past had these interesting little terrain cards. So it mentions what unstable terrain is, their orange blocks. You can grind rails, how much it costs, throwing objects. Covered terrain, you can take cover, how much it costs. It was kind of neat, because I was like, oh, that's, pretty cool. I kind of like this idea that you can just hang a card away for that specific thing. Like how locked doors work, how cameras work, blocking terrain, crouch. And, the map shows, hey, this has these 5 things in there. You're going to need to know these 4. So make sure you pull these 4 cards out, so if anyone has questions, they're right there. And that's definitely cool. So what they did instead in the new one is they have this terrain color guide. So that's just, instead of having all these cards, you have one big sheet. And it's saying if it has this line, this line, this line, or this colored, this is what it does. And then on the back side, it explains all the different things you can do. So you can take your cover, climb, crouch, leap, grind. And then they add tokens too. They have more tokens if you're crouching or covered, how much it costs to do it. Plus, even still on there, what all the different icons mean, what all the icons on your cards mean, your character cards, icons on the dice mean, battle dice, what they mean, and how you awake your characters. So that was actually kind of cool. I did like the idea of these cards, because I was like, oh, I can just hand this off. And it kind of shows what it is and the color, but it's also I can just hand you this giant sheet that has all that information on it, as well as all this extra information. Yeah, it takes up a bit more, but it's not going to take up any more than having to dish out 5 of these and hang them out, where I can hang 1 of these to each player that might need one. So that's kind of different. I could kind of go either way on that. I just like that the big sheet has more information. Also on there, or with that, they also made a competitive mode sheet, so you can lay this down, so whoever's playing the bad guy, deck goes here, discard pile, their active cards, how the round works, heroes, and then battle 2, hero turn, villain turn, repeat steps 1 and 2, how you do all that, clean up phase. And then again, just a little reminder on what all the icons mean for the villain deck. And then alternatively, they have the cooperative mode versus the AI. How that round works, drawing the initiative cards, what all the different effects, the symbols mean on the cards. And again, it's kind of nice because then this big giant, you can lay this down on the table, use your initiative cards here, or villain cards, lay them here, so you have a reference with them to keep going back to a book. So that's definitely cool too. Alright, and I wanted to look at the different tiles. Now, there's obviously original versus new game. There's a lot more stack, a lot more tiles. But this is also 2 big box sets of Changes Constant and City Fall, as well as the Kickstarter stuff and the Shadows of the, or Secret of the Foot Clan's packed. So there's a bunch of extra content in here. But I kind of wanted to just like look at the differences between some of them. So like here's the Office from the original, and here's the Office. Let's see if I can back my camera up a bit. I can't really zoom out much more, so we'll see what we can do there. But you can see from them, they definitely up the artwork. So this is like kind of very generic-y looking. Like it doesn't look bad. Like if I saw it, I wouldn't have been like, oh, this is terrible artwork or anything. No, it's neat. It works. But then they really upped it. Like just there's shadow. Like there's pictures on the wall. There's papers on the desk. Some candy. You know, like you can see a monitor there. There's more pictures. Like you can see the lighting on the floor. Like it's definitely just a better visual upgrade. But otherwise, like for the sake of them working, like for what they are, they actually look fairly similar. Although I don't know why on this one, like the desk is not like she turns around. Ooh, camera froze. Like this is kind of just a weird desk setup. I get lower here so I can talk to them, and the computer's there. And then this one's more like an actual security desk where like they'd have to come in and you'd always be facing that direction, so they kind of fixed that. Check on this one. So this side we have a rooftop and a water system. I'm not sure. So I don't, and that's the other thing I was interested in. I don't know if there's 100% one-to-one, like if every single one of these has an equivalent, like if they just took every map and upgraded it. So I'm not seeing a rooftop. Somewhere there's I know there's rooftops in here. So I think that's the closest we're gonna get. Is we have this rooftop, which looks like a big sewer water thing underneath, like some sort of pool on top. And then there's this one. Again, like grim and grittier a little bit. And then it's a little bit brighter. I kind of almost like this one better. But you can also see the other thing they changed in here is this is a yellow tile. So everything in here is yellow. Here they made every tile separate. And the same thing for blue for elevated terrain. Is this blue tile is your elevated terrain. So you know this entire thing's up top. Here they made every square blue. Which sort of, to me, I suppose could lead to some confusion here, because I think that every time you cross into one of these, you have to treat it as separate elevated terrain, when technically it's just this entire object is elevated. And then also getting rid of all them extra lines makes this a lot cleaner of an image. So that's definitely that. Then, of course, we have our subway, and on the other side we have the street with the two grind rails. So let's see if I can find those guys quick. Because they did not make these necessarily like the same back to front. So here's our original city with two subway, I said grind rails, because there are grind rails there. But they're also subway going down. So then here's the new one. You can see they still have the two sewer holes and everything. This one, though, has full-size stairs. This one, they shrunk them down and added some benches in here, which aesthetically makes sense. Plus, they had the new idea of just a grind rail being a line on there. So it's your yellow terrain, plus the orange grind rail, where the old one, it did the grind rail, all the way across with orange blocks and then yellow. So then again, it kind of separates these as being two separate pieces. And I can see where that could lead to some confusion. Then we have our subway with our turnstile, and it's the same idea. So here they have like grind rail there, and there's your grind rail. All your turnstiles, which are red, and then they have them. But again, they didn't. On the newer one, they just have the big blocks. Plus, they added a grind rail down the middle, which is cool. And then that was actually, I was wondering, I was looking at the adventure book. So here, they actually had added in the benches in there. So now you're stuck when you play this map every time about having these benches in the middle. Whereas the newer one, a lot more detail. And you don't have to have them benches. You can kind of do whatever you want. So that's those two. Now I'm just going to go through all of these because there's not too many of them. So we have a dock system and a Whirlpool Sewer. Alright. I remember seeing those in here somewhere. So here's the Whirlpool Sewer. There's the new one. There's the old one. So they're basically identical, and that's a lot of these are. They're the same feel, they just upgraded the artwork and stuff. I kind of, this one could kind of go either way. I mean, I like the more cleaner aesthetic of these because there's all of the extra lines. But I do like the grid plating on here instead of just like the stone. But it also sort of fits a little bit better having stone all the way around because you can probably mirror it to more boards. So those are those two. So then we're looking for a dock. And where is the dock? There's the dock. Alright. So old one, can't go here. There's some terrain, some green zone. Not sure what the green one is, or hindering terrain. So they got rid of that in there, so you can keep going in there, but they kept all the rest of it. Again, otherwise it's pretty much the same map, just more detailed. And that was that one. Then we have this big, giant, generic, empty room, and we have a water tower. So, I'm not sure which one the generic room is supposed to be. I don't know if there was. Just because there's a lot of empty, generic rooms in this game. Which are fun, because then you can add your own terrain or have a lot of soldiers or what have you. So if this is some sort of dojo or training area, they offer several different ones. They have the sewer dojo, the turtle's lair. So it could be that one. This could be maybe supposed to be like the foot staging area, which only has like full entrance and a chair there versus having two doorways. It could be, maybe this is to be like the theater, which has a bunch of blocking terrain. I don't see... Yeah, they have a bunch of different stuff. It could be this open building here. So that's has an entrance here and then a door exit there. Yeah, so there's a couple different possibilities there. There's an empty office. This one also has just empty streets as well, which are nice. I can't find the building with the water tower on top. And I don't know why. Well, if I come across it, I'll point it out. But there is one with a water tower, so we'll just skip that one for a moment. So we also have open sewer and city streets. So I'm sure we have plenty of those. So here's one of the city streets that we get in the new one. So it's like a nighttime street, where the only hindering terrain are these bushes, and this kind of looks the same there, but there's more bushes. But I also kind of like the day versus the night. Like, I mean, I could see it maybe not connecting these, but I could see using one for one game, one for the other. Just to have a day versus night effect. I get that they're ninjas, so they go at night, and that was kind of the idea. I was seeing if I think that's the city street that we were looking for. I believe so. Alright, let's move on to the next one. So we have the rooftop with a street in the middle, and then the subway tracks. So we do have this rooftop, which also has a pizza, the Ninja Pizza. Oh, this one's pretty generic. Has some spaces on the outside, just like this one. And it's Rupert's Pizza. So these are probably the same idea. Nothing terribly special about them. And then we were looking for is Subway. And then here are two subway tracks, which we kind of pointed out in the other one. So again, this one with all them extra lines, it's kind of cluttered. But you have your 4 spots, your 4 pillars. This one also has the 4 pillars. Otherwise, yeah, they're pretty much the same. They just have them in different spots. Is there less boxes in this one? Two rails. Let me flip it the other way. Oh yeah, they're the same. They just move the pillars to the other side. Alright, and then we have another big open area for this game, for the old game, which we have plenty of those. And then the final thing we have on here is we have the Kickstarter one for the original game. We have Kevin Eastman's office or art studio. So this is not recreated in the new one. This was made wholly for the first game. So if you really want just one board, I mean, I wouldn't say buy the entire thing for it, but it might be cheaper than just trying to find it. It really has limited applications outside of the one story. And the new game, because this wasn't included in it, it's not going to have any setup or rules for it. You'd have to use the old booklet too. So you couldn't just, you could just buy this board and play with it however you want. But it's really a tiny room because there's 4 spots there you can't go on to special terrain. Otherwise, it's just kind of like a ring around. But it could be a fun little like capture type mission. But another new one also has all these other ones. And again, some of these are one of the other games. And as well as Kickstarter stuff. But you get like more docking area. There's a big open room. You get the inside of a bar. Just for something different to do. The other part of a theater stage. There's a dojo. Outside Ancient thing, this is Secret of the Foot Clan expansion. This is Northampton expansion. There's a beachfront. Just open road. Just kind of nice. There's some huts. Some more huts to jump around on. You can just go jumping. Open grass field. Inside the Northampton barn. And another kind of openish grass field. I don't know why I didn't find that water tower. There's another big rooftop. You can kind of mix and match all these. There's the Turtles Sewer. Gets you some other different places to play. There's some laboratories. Outside of a building. Again, another open parking lot. And I like the open things because, again, you can put your own tiles in there. Open street, you can connect these streets in different patterns. Outside in the park, another park. Yeah, because also getting to combine those, or then you can also add a lot more figures on here to fight. There's that, because you got more boards to link together, more open area. There's a junkyard. Another rooftop for a restaurant, it looks like. The theater. Another open parking lot. And the dojo. I thought there... Oh, I know why I don't see one with a water tower. Because the new game has the water tower as a separate piece. That's why I'm not buying it. So there's that one open roof that looked just like this, but didn't have the water tower. You can choose to add the water tower, so you don't always have to use it. Alright, so that's the difference between the different tiles. So realistically, the only one that's only available in the work set, and it has to buy the work set, would be Kevin Eastman's office. Otherwise, all the other tiles are available in the new one. Just graphically updated. With little things changed in there. Kind of like, yeah, I kind of like the new old ones sometimes because they're a little bit brighter. So for the sake of you want maybe have like a day setting versus a night setting, that kind of works. I just don't like all the extra blocks all over them. Alright, so as long as we're talking about terrain, here are the pieces for the old game. I didn't punch any of them out yet. But you can see obviously the big borders behind all of them. You get a couple of cars and smoke effects. Then the new game. So I have all in a little box here. And again, I'm going to have stuff from all the different sets and Kickstarter stuff mixed in here. Again, it's just graphically a little bit differently, but that doesn't deter from them at all. But you're gonna have like dumpsters, open dumpsters, closed dumpsters, park benches, some boxes that you can stand on. There's some other dumpsters. Then we have some orange tiles, which they didn't have in the other one, so you can actually put closed off areas. They have some of the cars. And the cars look, fairly similar. Same length, they kind of still fit together. Maybe these ones are a little bit bigger. The new ones are a little bit bigger in size. They take up more of the block. But you could definitely use them. Mix and match them in there. Here's like one of the storage crates. Just see a little bit more detail where you see like a 3D side of it. Versus just where it's like a top view. I don't think there's anything in there that's not in there. There's also some extra black signs and stuff you can't go around. Here's your smoke. It's just on either got like a black tile for like a sewer, or you can get like a street tile. That one has a grid. The other ones have grids on them. Some portal tiles I got. Here's like the computers, all detailed. Versus, so here's your smoke tile and your computer. Again, fairly generic. I didn't see where. I was trying to see if I could find the. I don't see it. I was looking for that one. The subway, not subway, Fire escape. Oh boy. Yeah, so by the time you buy all the different current expansions, you're going to have a lot more tokens. As you can see, there's stuff like these, which are double doors, which then you can open if you perform that specific check for that. I got a limousine, which makes that kind of fun, so you can have just different size things. There's definitely a bunch of different ones. You get bank vault that you can open up. Some more cars. Channel 6 van. More computers. More cars. A broken wall. So this is kind of neat. You have a wall that can be broken into. So if you want to have... oh, I need to break open this wall to get through there. Subway pillars. So if you want to add more terrain or just a blocking terrain. Doors that open and close. Yeah, just it's a lot of just upgraded stuff. They're just like, hey, what would be cool? Like, oh, we want to have doors that open and close. Instead of having to try and remember it or whatever, here, we'll just make a token for it. So we also have, like, the trash cans that the other game has. And I like that there's also kind of like a night and day sort of feel to them. And then there's those ones. You can see very similar artwork, just someone kind of just upgraded it. There's trash bags. Here's the doors. The doors do, I think, open in that one. We got like fan systems for sitting up on top of the roof. So again, they made that stuff. And there's like the water tower I was talking about. So you could choose where to put this stuff, which is what made it a lot cooler. Yeah, it's a lot more tokens, a lot more stuff to have. But that you can do what you want with it is really cool. And then all the pizza counters, I think, are pretty much the same. I don't think they changed those too much. Again, maybe they like redrew them or made them a little bit different, but I think those are basically the same. The kale and focus tokens are a lot bigger. I don't think I have... They're round in the other one. I don't have them over here. Otherwise, I would compare them. Alright, let's look at the dice quick. I just wanted to... So the old one has this big old green and red dice and those colors. And there's your size difference. So you can, as you can see, the old ones are actually a decent size bigger. And then here are the new ones, are all the different colors. Trying to see if I had one of those turtle dice, but I think I must have them in a different spot right now. But even like the bagel dice that they have, so here's the old bagel dice versus the new ones, and they're bigger. And if I didn't generally need more, I almost kind of like the bigger bagel dice. They're kind of like a little bit more impactful. But also if you're trying to pass around, 8 dice every turn, maybe smaller dice are a little bit nicer. But I'm not going to complain about having more dice. It's definitely a cool thing. The only downside, again, is since like the hero dice are bigger, you can't really mix and match them as well. I was just seeing if I had just Splinter dice in here. They're in here. They're probably just buried below everything. I have them in a giant container here. The other upgrade they did for this game, for the new one, the City Fallen Kings Constant, is you have these little tokens. They're all double-sided, so that when you're sharing your dice with the other players, because that's what you do, you roll 3 dice, and then your left and right dice are shared with your left and right players, is then you can put these guys down. So, I'm just going to grab 3 dice, just as an example. So, if I had rolled a movement, a ranged, and a melee attack, the person on my left would also be able to use the movement dice, and the person on my right would also get to use the katana, the melee attack. But now let's say the person on my right wants to share their dice is a double katana, and the other person has an extra movement. Because then you can set these down, and I know it's hard to see like with my glare and everything. So now if I set this down, I would know exactly what 5 dice I have without having to constantly look over and be like, wait, which one did you have? Oh, you had I have this one. Like here you can just be like, nope, I have it. And then actually the Kickstarter, I got a little trays where are really nice. You hold all your cards and your dice, you can slide them up to show that you've used them. So you don't, even then, that's a Kickstarter thing, but it's even nice. You didn't have to try and remember which dice you were using. But yeah, just adding these little tokens was really cool. Because I could definitely see how frustrating that could get playing and having to constantly try and remember, look over and see which dice you're supposed to be using. Especially when you re-roll them every round. Alright, now I want to compare some of the character cards. So here's the original one. So we have, let's just look at the 4 turtles for the time being. Set you guys aside. So we have, Raphael, Donnie, Mikey, Leo. We'll just look at Raph as a good example. But you can see all the different cards with different things. Loner, Nimble, Leader, and Smart for their abilities. And then, in this one, we have... I got them all mixed up here. So we have Donatello still has Smarts. Leonardo has Leader. Mikey has Nimble. But then Raph has Enraged. Because I think they probably felt like the Loner thing, like, you're playing a game where you're supposed to be working together. And they're like, why would you have a thing where he doesn't work with everybody? So they changed that ability. So I'm going to actually pull those to the side. We're going to just compare the Michelangelo cards. So they both have the similar, here's what dice they have. Skateboard, katana, shuriken, defense, double movement, chi. So that stayed the same. Other things they added in here is they added different clan types. So, like, on the back here, these guys are all just pizzas. This is all good guys, all bad guys with slashes. Here's this clan, Hamato. Versus if I grab Shredder, who's a Foot Clan member. Or if I grab Hun, who's a Purple Dragon. Or Old Hob, who's a Mutanimal. They all have different teams on the back. Just kind of, so they sort of theme together. I don't know if... I don't think any direct character abilities, maybe some of the allies reference that. But it's always something that they can do later. Like, they can always add it in later. Which is definitely cool. And then they have all your stats here. So, here's kind of an interesting thing. This has, down here, like a pizza box where you put all your health tokens in. So, you actually dedicated a spot for that. They didn't do that in this one. And I feel like, it's kind of neat, but, like, it's not really necessary. But it does have the same thing. So they have move, attack, defense, skill, focus. In the new game, they just put them up on the top, though, and they gave them symbols. A foot for move, a fist for attack, like an arm blocking for defense, some cards for skills, because that's how many different cards you get to use. The mask for focus, so it matches the focus icons. And then your 12 health plus your 8 to awaken. And all his stats stayed the same. They didn't change any of his stats at all. But yeah, just they kind of made it a little bit cleaner of a card. I feel like some people really like this design, and there's nothing wrong with that. It has the same information. I just kind of like the little symbols up the top. It's a little bit quicker to see. I guess it doesn't really make a difference. Plus, this also kind of makes him like, one's a little bit, it makes him look really weak. And then his ability is, once per turn, Mikey may move 1 space for free, ignoring terrain, breakaway rolls. Also, terrain moves cost Mikey 1 less icon of your choice to use. So it's once per round during his turn. Mikey may move one space for free, ignoring all blocking terrain effects. Moves cost Mikey one less move icon. So they kind of just made it so it has to be moved. So they tweaked the text a little bit, and I think they did that with a lot of the cards for just rule clarification, like turn versus round. Because once per turn, like if I think of a turn, so even if I'm playing against the opponent, I'd be like, my turn, their turn, my turn, their turn. So unless I can activate Mikey every single turn, versus this one where I believe you can only activate them every round. So even if I have all 4 turtles versus the bad guys, I can only use each character once. It's once per the entire round I can do it. And then terrain moves cost Mikey one less move icon, and cost one less of your choice. So they must have either changed how the move worked or something. I'm not for sure. But it's going to be the same for all of them. They're all going to have the same stats. 3, 1, 3, 4, 3, 12, and 8. Same symbols. After actions are rolled, any rerolls are made. Leo may trade one action dice belonging to any hero with an action dice belonging to another hero. So they didn't change any of the abilities, I don't believe. Again, they may have fixed the wording a bit, but Donnie's smart and smart. So the only one that changed was Raphael got a new one. So he's got, instead of getting 6 action dice, he's got 3. Raphael is 5 or below. He no longer needs to pay focus to reroll or defending. So basically, if he's getting beat up, he gains an extra bonus. Now, that being said, they did release a Kickstarter version of an extra character called Raphael Loner, which has the exact same ability as this one, with the same stats and everything. So that's kind of cool. They did do it, but they made it so he actually different sculpt. He actually has a trench coat and a hat, so it's not just a different character card. They actually had a separate sculpt for him, which gave him more dice. So he came with 3 more dice, so you could have all 6. But that's definitely cool there. And on the bottom, you can tell on these cards that they're the color of the turtle with white versus green with that color. And I think that color with the white pops a little bit more, although I do like the green dice. So they did include Loner Raph. He just wasn't included right away. The other thing that came with a Kickstarter that you could buy were the Ultimate Stan Saki version of the turtles. This is him drawing them. And they have Senpai, Field Medic, Unpredictable, and Scrapper. So they use the same deck of cards, they use the same dice and everything else. They just have different abilities, which were kind of neat. This game did give us the... here they are. I had them in a separate pile. Did give us the Kevin Eastman designs, but that's the only thing that was different on them. Is you have different sculpt figures, but the character cards are the exact same. They have the same moves, same everything. They didn't change any of that. Yeah, it looks like all their stacked abilities stayed the same. Yeah. So that's kind of the downside of that. It's like, at least this game, when they gave us new sculpts of characters, they also gave us new cards with new abilities. This one, yeah, I can use the other turtles, but nothing changed with them. And then I was going to look at the other 3 heroes that are in this set. So we have Master Splinter, April O'Neil, and Casey Jones. Slide them up. And again, all the stuff on the card should all be the same. So Splinter, Casey, and April. So if we look at the 2 Casey Joneses. 42222, 159. Yep, that's all the same. Yep, everything else is the same. Casey regains life but not focus whenever he rolls skateboard icons on his action dice. As though he'd roll a chi icon. So it's the same exact ability. But they did have different names, which is interesting. This one's Walk It Off versus Vigilante. I'm not sure why they changed it. April's. Now, this is actually a cool thing I did like about this, is the old April here, she has on like the test gauntlets, the beta tech, but she's still kind of in more of her civilian outfit. The newer one, they put her on the stealth suit as well. So I like this kind of model or figure because it looks more like regular April. But they did actually change her abilities too a little bit. They gave her a double shuriken and they took one away. So that's, they did make some changes here. Not too much. Otherwise, same thing. She starts with the stealth suit and the gravity gauntlets, and they do not count towards her limit of one special move per turn. And then finally, we have Master Splinter, who has double skateboards, katanas, double, lots of doubles. And then 2, 1, 4, 5, 4, 7, 7. And Splinter made 2 special moves instead of 1, so otherwise this is the exact same as well. Alright, I'm not going to go through every single villain card. I did want to point out a couple of other things that this game did versus... I'm not going to go through everyone, but I just want to point out a couple of things. So here's our 2 different Shredders. And as you can see, the villain cards, they did change, because now they have... like, he has a health, he has an awakening ability. Otherwise, it says his movement, attack, and defense as well. Just still have his awakening life. But they have their clan, lists him as a leader. So that's the same. They got rid of the evil icon, which is good because most of them were all 99. So it didn't really make a whole lot of sense to have if they had a varying degree where they had some impact on the game. It's just weird extra feature on there. But you can see they have very different abilities. So bow down to evil. Ultimate Shredder may activate more than once per turn. The villain's hand size is increased by 1. And then there's also Master Shredder, who's maybe more in line with this one. Yep, commanding. So here's attacks are the same. So this is the alternate Kickstarter one. So they gave them a special ability. This is the one that's more in line with that. 3, 3, and 4 stayed the same. Active is +1. So that's more of the same one. So they did that, but what I wanted to show you here was, this is the one where the player plays at it, and here's Cry's card, Archer. But then here are the AI cards they added in there. So let's at the Shredder one first. So AI has his attack, how much damage he does, how much he blocks. If you're playing against him as the computer, he has 20 health, that's what he does, just as a comparison. It's the same artwork and everything, so they kind of go together. But he has more health. If someone's playing as him, he has less health than just the AI. But he also has 11 points and he can reawaken. And then the abilities a little bit differently. This gives him an extra card. Since the AI doesn't have cards, all foot minions within 2 spaces receive +1 hit. Shredder moves during this turn, he receives an additional action. And then down here it shows who they attack it. They target whoever has the least amount of skill. Hers is, or the most amount, or it could be a ranged attack versus a melee attack. It's neat that they added this in here so you can play against these guys, and it dictates how they kind of move, who they're going to target. So you don't have to try and figure all that stuff out. The other thing I want to point out that the new one did was, I now have 3 different Foot Ninja, who all have the same stats. Foot Clan Ninja. So they're all interchangeable. So if I'm using any game that says use a Foot Ninja unless it specifies, I can use either the regular Foot Ninja, which have numerous, and I gain an ability. I could use the Foot Clan Soldiers, which have their special ability, or I could use the Feudal one, which have a different ability. Otherwise, they're all treated as foot soldiers, and they all use the same deck. And that was definitely cool that they had multiple versions of some of the minion characters. And then I wanted to also look at... So here's the other thing they did was interesting. So Bebop and Rocksteady have changed. Because here they have a cost of focus 2, enhanced Foot Clan Bruiser, and then he has a special ability for his chainsaw, which gives defense rolls and stuff, and then this one has a different one. He ignores bonuses. And then Rocksteady's near enemy gains a bonus. But they got rid of that focus cost in here, so you can't use these guys to pay to make everyone a little bit more stronger. He's also a lot weaker. Because here he has 13 and you can resurrect him, because he's considered a leader in this one versus a minion. So it's just kind of an interesting little change that they did. As you can clearly see, like, here are all the cards for that game. And that's what we get. And then all of the other ones, including all the Kickstarter. There's a lot more. But that's also because you have 2 full sets of heroes and villains, with also all the villains having AI controlled. Plus you have a bunch of other little expansions in there. Because there's so many other different characters to play as. You can Oroku Saki and Hamato Yoshi. Bebop, Rocksteady, you get more Foot Clan. Baxter Stockman. Purple Dragons, Angel Bridge, Hunt, Alopex. There's the Thug Gunners and Brawlers, who have some extra different abilities. Savat, more Foot Clan Elites. The Deviation Turtles. And there's actually, like, you get City Fall, you only get Leonardo, but if you buy the special box, you can get all the turtles. Old Hob, Flying Mousers, different Baxters. There are just so many different characters in here. You get Slash. You get a box set where you can fight use all of the major villains. You can play as them. So you can play as Shredder and Baxter and Old Hob and Cry and everyone with the turtles. But you also can fight against the turtles with these AI cards. Unfortunately, you don't have a way for you to play as the turtles to fight against them. But still, it's neat. Like, there's a hero and villain version of Slash, Old Hob, and Alopex. There's the Stranger. There's some other odd characters. There's Worm, Rat King, Krang. And some of these currently you can't play against even as the opponents, like Metalhead. These are all AI ones you have to play against. But still, it adds extra thing like Leatherhead from the comics, or from the cartoon. Koya, Fly Baxter. There's so much different stuff in here. It's definitely cool. Yeah. Like, comparing the two of these, though, I definitely like the feel of the newer ones better. Alright, now we're going to compare their actual character decks. Old ones, new ones. So just looking at Leaping Strike here. Leo leaps up to 3 spaces in a straight line. He may make an attack plus 2 melee strike. Leaping figures out to break away. May pass through an ally. Leo leaps up to 3 spaces in a straight line, then may make an attack at plus 2 melee. So, just comparing these two, I kind of like the old one. I do like the fact that they kind of bolded some of the stuff in there, and then a little reminder text, but it's not, it's alright. And then down here is the cost, versus up here they just have the 2 symbols. The 2 symbols actually, I think, are a little bit nicer. a little bit cleaner. I like keeping my text boxes clean. And then they have a picture on the top of which turtle it is. Here's the one big downside. This says Leonardo Leader. So assuming that only the Leader version of Leonardo can use it. So if they ever did make an alternate version, they'd have to make a separate deck. Which is also why, like, the Mirage version of the character cards all have the exact same effects. Because otherwise I would have to create a separate deck for each character. These ones don't. So I can use these with every single alternate version that they make. But then it's also do they have the same cards. So we have Leaping Strike, Leaping Strike. We have Slice and Dice. And we have Slice and Dice. I like how it's the same artwork. It's just done differently. Like they made the same poses and everything. You can kind of also see here's the difference in really separate +2 melee attack against 3 different enemy figures that are adjacent. Makes a 3 attack +2 melee strikes following normal things, and then it's just explaining a lot more. So you have a double slash. I think we have there's a double slash in here somewhere. Right there. So we have double slash. It's sort of funny because I was talking about the tiles. I was like, oh, they're the older game, everything's brighter, it's more clear to see stuff. The newer one's a bit more grim and gritty, and then the artwork here is almost the exact opposite. Here it's more shady, a little bit darker. Here they made everything a lot brighter. And you can see they changed the mask icon to like one eye versus a full mask. I'll hold them off. And he's got that one. So I think they redid all the same ones. Probing Attack and Clash. So we have Clash and we have Probing Attack. And then finally we have Leonardo Leads. So now here's the interesting thing. We have 2 extra cards here for Leonardo. We have In the Shadows. So they gave him 1 new one. And then this one actually came with a Northampton expansion, which also lends the idea of that as the games progress and they release other expansions, they can add cards for characters. I know the new set coming out, the Mutant set, is supposed to have an additional card for Mikey, representing kind of like his growth in that storyline. This is the growth of Leonardo. And that's definitely cool that they could just keep adding them. Where with this one, could they? But then they have that leader issue. And I'm not going to sit here and go through every single character because they're all going to be... It's going to be the same idea. What I do want to look at, though, is some of the villains. Where are the villains? Since I had Shredder right there, I was just trying to see if I could find Shredder. I have them in order, so why am I struggling to find these? Because I just want to see how different the villain cards look. Alright, so we had... Green card Shredder. Old one, we get Cease this foolishness, take down the mutants, you failed me, and strike them down. So if we go through all his cards. Now this is interesting though, there's a different picture on there. So you have take down the mutants. And then now, here's how they changed some of these. So they got rid of the picture in the top, because obviously you're going to know this is... Which I get kind of for the villain cards, it made more sense, because there's like a lot of green, a lot of blue, all that. Or green, blue, and yellow, and red. So that kind of made sense. But again, Shredder mentioned he's the leader. And then here they got rid of that. It doesn't matter if he's a leader, I mean, just as long as he's Shredder. And this again specifies Master Shredder versus it's just Shredder. So this can be any Shredder that's using this. Same cost. Any double hits any double hits that Shredder rolls count as triple hits. Any double hits rolled by Foot Clan Ninja count as triple hits instead. So it's actually, they changed some of the text on here. So this one's actually a better card versus just Shredder. Let's see what one of his other ones are. You failed me for the last time. When played, remove any one minion. Choose and remove one minion from the figure pool. While active, all friendly figures roll +1 die each time they roll. So that one's the same. So they kept that the same. Strike them now. Or now strike them down. Spawn one Foot Clan adjacent to a hero of your choice, then activate it using actions on this card. So yeah, it has all the different actions down here instead of on the side. Just a little bit clearer, because this kind of makes it seem like it's a cost to play the card versus what you're getting to use. And then Ceaseless Bush. So it has the same 4. And now this game, Shredder has blue cards, red cards, and yellow cards. And did he get all of those? He has the orange, or this is the red. He's got blue cards here somewhere, I bet. So are his red cards all the same? Let's find out. Destined to fail, unimpressed, no rest, and enough. They keep these all matched up the same. There will be no rest, destined to fail, I am unimpressed, and enough. And there's our ally cards. Splinter, regroup, Foot Clan. He might not have as many cards. I think he should have at least 3. Yep, and then here he's got Destiny, Will Not Prevail, Unyielding, Unstoppable, and Die for This Insolence. And my cards are scattered everywhere. Not Prevail, Destiny, Insert. So it's also interesting though. Same artwork. But then they swapped the blue and green cards as artwork around. So the blue and green have... Yeah, it's just kind of interesting that they did that. I wonder if that was just a error. But then the new set also has a yellow Shredder, which is Pathetic, You Can't Escape, Dragon Warrior, and We Are the Foot. And that's the thing, is some of the characters, this is kind of like the harder modes, and so there's a lot more icons than some of the other ones. So some of the other characters in the newer game, because there's more content, have a lot more character cards. But you can see how they changed them all. And then we have the ally cards. So they had Donnie, Mike, Leo, Raph, and then Special Eastman and Fugitoid. And then in the Kickstarter though, they changed them. So you get, like, where's, let me see if I can find the Leo one. We'll just compare Leonardo with Leonardo. So that's how they aligned them to, like, fit their respective styles. To play Sport Focus on this card, you may spend it, you know, same ability. But then they have the different backs. This one's a hand. This one's a cell phone. Kind of interesting. But yeah, we got the same characters. We got a Donnie, a Mikey. We have a Casey, a Raph. We have more characters from the stories. Special set of Hamato's sons. Loner Raph, Alopex, Renette, Pigeon Pete, Splinter, Angel Bridge, Harold. We have a Woody Durkin, which we also have. It's April, Neil, and Donatello. But as you'll notice, there was no Kevin Eastman or Fugitoid. So, if you wanted to have every single character card, you would also have to, like all the different allies, you'd have to also buy this set to get those 2 specific cards. The other thing they added, which they may have added eventually, was they added evil cards. So the evil guys also get some. Aelopex, Savant, Knitze, Koya, Shredder, Stockman, Arnold Jones, Knitze, and then a bunch of regroup cards. So this is gonna let your enemies your bad guy player reshuffle the villain deck. So basically, it was, I think, like 1 for every single expansion, or maybe 2 for the big ones and 1 for each of the other small ones. But it got kind of neat to have different artwork for each one, which makes it fun. But yeah, just more content. Can't argue with that. There's all the initiative cards, which don't do anything special, but they have on the bottom which version they are. So it's like Cry Sure Shot versus Baxter Genius, Usagi Jimbo. So just all of which version they are. Like there's some of them have multiples, like the Thug Gunners usually have a couple different ones, but they can also add, another set of Thug Gunners like they did with the Foot Ninja, and make new abilities for them. So that is all the different stuff. I still gotta go through the miniatures yet. One other quick thing I want to show you. This is how I sorted all my cards. I made my own special dividers. Just so if I'm looking for a specific character, I can, I want April. Here's April's cards. I always sort all my stuff out, but I thought I'd just show this off so we have all the different heroes. And I made little bands on there that kind of went with the characters. But then as I flip through, I get through all the villains. And currently it's showing what color decks they all have. So like they have red and blue. Like this Foot Ninja has red, blue, green, yellow. And it goes all the way back. Alright, let's look at the miniatures. Alright, so the ones on this side, these are the green ones. These are from the Shadows of the Past. And the ones over here are the new ones. This also includes, though, the regular ones from the box, and then the Kevin Eastman Kickstarter variants. And this side has the regular ones from the box and the Stansaki variants. So if you bought all of them, you can exchange them. I kind of like that these are green, just to help them stand out. But it made more sense in that when the base set only had the 4 turtles. And it's sort of like, I'm the heroes versus the bad guys. But then when you started adding in the new set, even one box set where you had Splinter, April, Casey, Angel Bridge, Old Hobbs, Slash, then you'd have all those guys also having to be both colors. And I kind of like they're all gray. Then you can use them for either side, and you're not getting confused. So if I decided to play the Turtles as villains for a turn, or I wanted to use the villain Hobbs sculpt because I liked it better, or the villain Alopex, or whatever, yeah, you'd have the option of that. So that would actually be kind of neat. Then they have little bases, the little rings that click to the bottom. But you also see their bases are a different size. And if you watch my Shadows of the Past unboxing video, one of the big issues was with these characters is all the height differences. All the turtles are fairly accurate. And like just comparing these Raphaels, so this is Michelangelo's. This is the Eastman version, more of like the bulbous head, like the 80s cartoon version. And this should be the newer one. I saw this and I was like, growing up with this style, I'm like, I don't really like that head. I think they messed it up. But then actually now comparing it to the new versions, I'm like, nope, that's about accurate on how they did that. And I don't remember which one of these is which, but here's Mike. This is kind of cool, a bit more action poses. But I like the fact that you have all these different versions you can use. So we have the 2 different Raphaels where he's holding out the sides, or he has him gripped by the blades. Versus we have like an action action one and like one where he's just screaming, and I dropped him. I also have the Deviation Turtles, which is where they're foot soldiers, and I have the Loner Raph. I'm not going to pull them out and compare every single miniature, at least not in this video. So here's this Danya, like he's holding that bow back. Oh, I keep throwing all these guys. Good thing they're pretty good. So here's one with slightly different pose. And then there's this weird, like, leaping forward one, which I'm not really sure what the point there was. And then the two Leonardos. Double katana, single katana. Even their shells are different. That's neat. I just didn't really realize that. It makes sense. Kind of the kneeling pose versus the two newer ones. She's both always double katana. Not as cool of an action poses, but I also like all the different swords. They're crossed versus straight up and down. That's sort of a neat idea. Whereas, like, the layered turtles don't have it. Also, the layered turtles have tails, which all the newer turtles don't. Alright, so that's the Ninja Turtles. They just look different. Otherwise, they're, a lot of the same thing. They're about the same size. But I wanted to compare with some of the other figures. So we have our April, our Casey, and our Splinter. So Shadows of the Past, April, Splinter, we have Casey. I just wanted to compare some of the different versions of these characters. And we have the new versions, which we'll put over on this side. Splinter and Casey. So, now here's a comparison. I'm going to grab two of the turtles, one from each set, and put them in the middle. So again, the turtles were all about the same height. Here are the two Aprils in comparison. New April, about as tall as the rest of the Ninja Turtles. Makes sense. Old April, friggin' humongous. But then we also look at their designs. It's also, this is again, I do like this design though, where she's just kind of like testing out this gear, but she's still in like street clothes, versus this one where she's in the full stealth suit. They both got the gauntlet stuff. It's better detailed, I feel, the new one. But I like the older costume. But I don't like the fact that she's 3 times the size as everybody else. Splinter is the same way. Look at Splinter. He's as tall as the Ninja Turtles. Which, if they made them all the same height, and they're just like, okay, we're now all the same height, so they all take up the same profile, I would have been fine. But then when you have April that's humongous, it didn't make sense. I'm glad that they then shrunk Splinter down. Here he's got his cane, he's kind of in a pose, here's like kung fu action pose. And they definitely upped the detail on these. And then we got Casey Jones. Again, same size as the Turtles. You know what I mean? He's hunched over a bit, so he's maybe a little bit taller. But he is a little bit taller. Versus the old one where he's hulking. So now, he's about the same size as April here, so that made sense. And they're probably about height equivalent. Like, these two are probably the same height equivalent. And I know they were made after the fact. So it's kind of like maybe they just forgot their proportions when they made them. But yeah, I love the poses on both of these. There is, like, just, you see him doing like a slap shot. Versus here he has the cricket and the baseball bat. So I love that it's even just different pictures of them. Or versions. Alright, so that is all of those guys. Then I want to look at some of the villains. So we have New Hob. Old Hob. The old Alopex versus the new Alopex. But then also, along with that, we have Hero version and hero version. So it's definitely kind of cool. Actually, they both be over here. So yeah, you look at the sizes of some of these. They tried to, I don't know what they were doing with that, but original Hob, big old cat tail, they really focused on that tail, which I don't know how often that's a thing. The new one, they kind of got rid of it. Also, you can't see his eye patch. He's just a brawler. This one, he clearly has his eye patch on. Oh, I'm sorry. He just has, yeah, he has an eye patch. Oh, his sunglasses. But yeah, he's more of a gunner. He's a little bit thinner. Here they make him more of the beefy brawler. And then Alopex is a very similar pose, where she's kind of like cat landing. Cloak flailing around her. Big bushy tail. Kind of streamlined it a bit. And then the newer versions is they have the hero Hob, who has a trench coat and a shotgun. And this Alopex, where her tail is kind of down and she's just wearing a hood. But I like that. There's alternate sculpts for the characters. Up next, we have some ninjas. So we have the new versions. We have the Elite, and the Foot, and the Assassin. And there's the Bruiser, and there's the Elite. And again, you can see how the height differences are. Old ones, tall guy, small guy, hulking big guy. All kind of the same. The Elite have very similar type of poses. You know, dagger. I mean, I could really take either one. Regular ninja. There's a sword versus him just kind of be like a kung fu. I mean, the detail makes a difference. New ones are definitely cooler. And then the bruisers. So it's just like, I love this image. This pose and stuff is really cool versus kind of like the double katana. Or double, not katana, but like whatever those are. Guy definitely looks cooler. But he's so much bigger. Like this other guy bending over barely comes up to his waist. Yeah, if they would have made him the right size, that would have been cool. Alright, we also have a new Bebop and Rocksteady. Or sorry, old Bebop and Rocksteady versus new Bebop and Rocksteady. And we have Shredder. So as you can see, two Shredders are vastly different sizes, which is why I think everyone referred to this one as Super Shredder. But he's not really. He's just supposed to be the regular Shredder. They just made him twice as big as everybody else. I mean, you look at him compared to the Turtles. Regular Shredder stands, another foot or so higher. This guy's like half the size, or twice the size. The Bebops, they give him a much bigger chainsaw, much like laughing pose. I like this one because he looks more like, I feel like he's more like the Warthog, where this one, he looks more like a regular guy that they gave a Warthog head to. And then the Rocksteadies, the kind of running, charging-ish pose versus the hammer swing. I do almost like the hammer swing better, but he has such, look, he's massive arms and everything. He's a little tiny hammer head compared to this one. But yeah, it's interesting to see the different things they did. Alright, so the very last thing we have, I'm not going to show both of them, but I have the Thug Gunners. So, old one versus new one. Again, height difference. The one double hand shot versus him trying to be cool with double guns. And then we wanted to look at the other characters that we had for height differences and stuff. So, the new game added sizes. So we have someone like Slash. who is very big. So I mean, look at how big he is. He stands compared to Michelangelo here, which is how he should be. But then they actually have large characters like the Mega Mouser. So far, there's only this one. They haven't made any more yet, but it's definitely a concept they can do. Who takes up a lot more tile space. But then alternatively, they have little baby Mousers here, which you can fit 3 into one tile. Versus the Mousers from the original game. So here's a Mouser from the original. Here's a Mouser from the new one. Again, size-wise, this Mouser is almost bigger than the turtles. And the little tiny ones. I could see using these, like, if there's a special card you could use for them, which I think they may have made. I think one of the characters, Pete, not characters, but one of the people that worked on the game, made a card for these Mousers so you could use them in the new game. And they're kind of like medium-sized Mousers, because they're not quite the small ones, but they're not the big one. So it only takes up one space, which is kind of neat if you rework some of these that way. But yeah, I love the little mini Mousers. They're definitely cool. That was all the different ones I had. Again, there's a lot more other figures and stuff to compare, but I'm not going to go through every single one because I just wanted to get the idea across. Alright, see you guys later. Bye.